You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, but also a special edition of the podcast series. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to have someone who's helping out the podcast community with his product, his service that he's offering. I have Nedkov on the podcast. Thank you so much for showing up, sir.
Thank you for having me on the show, Phil. It's great to be with your audience.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So before I jump into everything that you've done for podcasters and that, I just want to get a little bit of your backstory. So why don't you quickly introduce yourself, Nedko?
All right. So I've been in online marketing and SEO, mailing, paid advertising, and all those around online and digital marketing since probably 15 years now. Since I started with SEO optimizations for clients as freelancer, and I've been doing multiple projects there from local SEO to natural SEO. Then somehow I moved more and more into more or less paid advertising, and I co-founded a small PPC ad network since we were still marketing it with SEO, but we started to mix with paid advertising, and over time I started like a marketplace for websites advertising. Since it was like a continuous to grow from network to marketplace, and it was some kind of like in startups. So I've been a few years into startups since 2016, I believe. I learned a lot around startup marketing, SaaS marketing. I've been doing some paid advertising campaigns, also like this marketplace. And at some point, like 2 years ago, when we were all locked at home, I've started listening more and more on podcasts. And also I've been into some online accelerators, and we pivoted the websites advertising marketplace into podcasts advertising marketplace. And since then, we pretty much we've been developing it for a year or so with developers, and now we've made for the top 20,000 podcasts, and then now we're launching for the million podcasts
that are out there.
That are out there, and it's like a profile for every podcaster, which has some of its statistics, some of its info, and all those details. We're working on something cool with the transcriptions. Hopefully soon we will launch it, and then we give opportunity for every podcaster to list his how to explain, to list his offers,
Show.
like his show. And actually the shows are already there, and we give an opportunity to list your ad offerings. For example, your sponsorship ads, you can list there with pricing for different pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll, and so on. And pretty much we simplify the process. You can imagine it as a Fiverr for podcast advertising, or you can say it, or even Amazon.
Well, no, it's a great idea that you have this marketplace, because
Thanks.
Being in the podcasting world for the last 6 years, I haven't been in the digital world that long. 16 years starting, but I've been podcasting for 6 years now, and I have multiple different styles of podcasts. But finding advertising, finding a way to connect to the sponsors, that has always been such a huge issue for podcasters, because they don't know how.
I can see that from my experience with websites advertising. It's totally different. There you have Google with AdSense, so you can monetize any website. But in podcasting, I can see it's like a gap, you can say. And that's why we pivoted into this medium, since it's very interesting. And also it's nice it's really untapped, you can say, for advertising. So there is a lot to be done. And I can see that they are of course monetization leaders in the industry, but they really want you to have minimum of downloads, to have better contracts, maybe a bit of sales experience, to be able to work with them, while we are trying to really to open it for everyone to be able to list his advertisements, since for there are also different advertisers. Of course there are big brands, but there are also smaller advertisers, local businesses, and different niche advertisers that also want to monetize. So it's perfect, since it's a great medium. The podcast audience is really, you can say, loyal audience. You probably know much better than me about that, how it is. And but it's really great audience, and it doesn't matter if it's a few hundreds, few thousands, or tens of thousands downloads. It's still the same core audience, or how to say it, loyal audience. So it's really nice, and it doesn't matter how big is the podcast. Any audience can be monetized, you can say.
I love that. And it's true. Every audience can be monetized. If you have one follower, you can still make $1 off of it. The old saying that every name on your email list is $1 in your pocket. Same thing with your listeners. Every listener is $1 in your pocket. You just need to know how to. And having a website like yours, the Podvertizer, I love it.
Podvertizer, yeah.
Rolls right off the tongue. But this is a great place for podcasters to go check out all the thing. I was taking a look before the interview, and you guys have such a wealth of niches covered for podcasters, so that if we know our niche, we can jump in and find direct advertisers and we can reach out to them. So
we sorted them in categories, so it's very simple to sort by category. And also we have a search engine, which also makes it easy to find specific podcasts. Like, for example, when we add your podcast, and then it will be super simple to search invest in yourself, and then you'll find your podcast. Really simple. And you can list your offerings, and any advertiser can find you from your listeners even.
And it's a great thing for advertisers as well, because advertisers trying to connect with the podcast, is trying to find the podcasts that fit their niche, because Google, unfortunately, and Apple and Spotify don't really have that matrix to separate it into more information, like the niches and all that. We can go to a website like yours, and we can go, okay, I want anything that's in this fitness. Let's say if I have a fitness product, or I'm a gym, I'm looking for fitness, I can go find those fitness, and I can niche down to specific types of fitness if I need to, which is, it's an amazing thing. It's way better than how we do it today, which is just knock and cold email. Here we have advertisers that are coming to us or are actively looking for a podcast to advertise. Now, I want to go back. You said you've been podcasting for, you've been in the digital entrepreneurial world for about 15 years now. You started with SEO, which is...
I started in teenager years, you can say, as a hobby and as a but the hobby became profession since I finished different architecture and all this. But really, marketing became my profession and my career, and entrepreneurship at all is really it became part of my lifestyle. And
I want to know what made you decide, because you mentioned that you were studying architect. What made you decide to go into the entrepreneurial world instead of following into the architect pathway?
Yeah. So I believe I've been online forever, and it was really super interesting for me, because it was really all the time innovations, all the time new things are happening, and the stuff that you hear on the TV or wherever, it's happening a few years later, especially 15 years ago. And again, it was totally different back then. It wasn't so much social networks and all this, and it really became my hobby, became my profession, you can say, since it was really interesting. You could learn so many new things, and it was really scalable, you can say. Like, you see the whole world, you can rank in Google and be everywhere in the world, for example. And it really was opening my perspectives, and I believe that was really what made my passion to continue doing it.
No, I love it. So you started with your SEO, and you were doing it, like you said, as a hobby. How did you go about reaching out to those clients the first couple of times to get those, get people to trust you enough to do the SEO?
Yeah, well, I've been into internet marketing forums, so I've made friends with a lot of people there, and that's how probably the first client started, word by mouth, I believe. And also I've been trying different platforms like Fiverr, for example, Freelancer, and pretty much from $5 in Fiverr, I was writing SEO strategy, and the clients were liking it, and they say, okay, let's do the whole strategy now. And that's how I've gathered multiple clients back then. And pretty much that was the model. And word by mouth also works very well.
Yes, it does, especially when you provide them with the amazing services that you do.
That's definitely the part
that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And now you're into the SaaS marketing, which is software as a service, which is the newest thing that's coming out here. It's been around a while. We have Netflix and stuff like that. But what made you jump into the SaaS marketing world? Like, was there a specific client that pulled you in, or was it just a random event?
Actually, this happened more, I believe, since last few years when I've been into startups. It really happened more and more startups got into the SaaS industry. And what we developed is like a marketplace. It's even bigger, you can say, than SaaS right now. But it was just really the model that worked very well, and for multiple startups, and we decided to also jump into that with we've mixed multiple skills, you can say, from paid advertising, SEO. Developer also was there helping with his multiple programming languages, and that really helped out to jump into.
I love it. Now, in your 15 years, you must amass a massive amount of tips and obviously knowledge. I do want to focus on a tip for using SEO for podcasters, since this episode is going to be specialized with podcasters as well as for digital marketers. And podcasters are small businesses and they're local. What are some a tip you may have to maybe help podcasters get their stuff discovered, maybe their episodes discovered, or even their podcast discovered?
So it's really something that you can say that every small business is probably not doing. I put the Podvertizer name there just so it's written properly of the website. Sure. And so it's really something that I believe every podcast as a small business has resources that he's not using right now. For example, you have the listeners, and for sure, if you develop some nice offer for the podcast, or some different monetization model that you choose, not only sponsorships, but they could be giveaway, they could be multiple different options from influencer marketing, you can say contests and all those. You can still use your audience and build really build on that, and you can really grow very fast. You can say you can access your resources that you already have and build on top of them. And I believe most of us are always, even I do all the time, same thing with the developers and all this. Let's develop a little bit more. Let's develop a little. No, you have to start selling. You have to start monetizing your whatever your infrastructure you have. Since if you do it in few months, you still go through the same mistakes, or in few years, even that's the case many times with startups. So don't lose time to learn how to sell and how to monetize, since for sure everybody has some kind of resource that is not monetizing properly or enough.
I love it. It's true. You have to focus on monetizing ASAP. Once you've established the baseline, you've built your foundation, start monetizing to get that money in, because people want help building those foundations. So yeah, I love it. I love it. That's a great tip for podcasters and for small businesses as well.
Yeah.
You find that you have your base, now start going. What else are you looking forward to? Like right now you have Podvertizer, you're getting it bigger and growing. What's next for it? Like you mentioned the transcribing, which is going to be ground changing.
It's actually something very interesting, since this transcription is here for a bit of time. It's not something super new, but what we try to do is implement it into the profiles of the podcast that we are developing, and try to share with the podcast to share together the revenues, so we can earn together, transcribe it with AdSense, or even better with header bidding. There is different kind of monetizations for the websites, and we can share with the podcasts like the revenues, and that's something we're developing. So it will be big, because when it's on a portal like ours, it will rank much faster in Google. So that will help to podcasters not even to build their own website, transcribing and all those details, and learn SEO optimization and all those things. But with us, we can do it together and do it on scale, and it will be really fast. We can probably automate also the social sharing, so their social channels are all active, and they kind of do it on passive income, you can say, monetization, without doing much work. Pretty much that's what we're trying to develop, to build another revenue stream for podcasters, hands-free.
There we go. And that's the biggest thing with podcasters. When it's an independent podcaster, having to do all these marketing, having to handle all these other things, finding the advertisers, it's a lot of work. But thankfully, we have people like you are developing programs and softwares that can at least alleviate some of the stress that it comes with things. And
that's our plan, to make all types of monetization at one place for podcasts, and help them to scale what they have and their resources, their listeners, and actually when they monetize better, they'll start to reinvest more into their product and build it even better on the next level. So it's good for everyone, and for the listeners, of course. At the end, that's the final.
It's true. It's true. The final product, like the money comes in, you reinvest it into your product, which is your podcast, the equipment. It took me a few years. I finally got a Rodecaster Pro, one of the premier mixers for podcasters. So I'm happy with that. And it was just monetizing, saving that money to get it, and then upgrading the webcams and all that, and the intros and outros and that as well. So no, it is true. It
looks great. Actually.
Yeah. Thank you. So far in your 15 years, you've had obviously a varied career. What has maybe been your favorite moment so far in your career?
Oh, well, that's interesting. So I believe it's like, especially in the years of in the first years of the startups, probably that was the best time. Like a few years ago, when I was super hyper inspired since I was reading so many times about entrepreneur, Forbes, and so on, about startups. But I was doing mostly online in marketing forums with friends and so on. And I got into some accelerators and into startup world kind of networking here in Sofia, in Bulgaria. And I've really started to learn so much more and to get into this. And it was very hard, but it was at the same time very, it was really nice when you achieve some point, and even when you fail, it was still great learning, since I was learning like super fast steps, and that was really the best moment when you actually can grow very fast in your entrepreneur mindset, you can say. We grow in the mind more than you can see it on the field. The results come a bit later on.
Yeah, the physical results come years later, but when you're in that grind, you're getting your knowledge bursting, and then all of a sudden you look 5 years back and you're like, wow, I've come a long way.
Exactly. Now that was a very great question. Thank you about that. I haven't thought on that.
You're very welcome. I always love finding out like entrepreneurs their favorite moment in their journey, because it's varied. Because some will say where I was stuck, I was always hitting a roadblock and it was just pushing me down, and then I just pushed through it, got to the other side. Some, like yourself, says I was in that grind and I just didn't realize, and then 5 years later I'm like exploding with knowledge, and
I
have
feel
all these connections.
I didn't know the answer to that question by today. That's great.
I love hearing it, and I love being told that I ask great questions, because it's always, as an interviewer, you're always worried. What is it about helping podcasters specifically that you want to, like, I know there's obviously that gap, you're jumping into this amazing gap that's not there. So obviously the opportunity, as being a serial entrepreneur like yourself, you see the opportunity, but why podcasters? What specifically drew you to that niche?
Yeah, so I believe it's really the medium. It's really the model, not the model, but you can say that kind of personal relation between the podcaster and his audience. I believe that thing is worth something, and it's really worth something. I mean, in websites, you don't have that much personality. You browse Google, you find some website, then you leave it or read another one. Maybe with the newsletters is something relevant, but it's different. While in the podcast, people really like the podcaster and they start to follow it again and again. And it's really interesting, and it really makes sense for those people who build that kind of great content, since it's a lot of effort. I can see like the equipment and everything, and to build it, to make sure, also the dedication to do that. For example, I'm a little bit scared to do my own podcast, because it's really super dedication. You have to do it like on a weekly basis or whatever, and you have to really dedicate time and effort and make it perfect every next time. And so that really is something that is worth to monetize, I believe. So to keep that thing existing at least, and then of course grinding it.
The grind afterwards. No, I do appreciate it, because it is a special relationship. A lot of podcasters,
exactly.
It's when I started listening to podcasts before I jumped in and creating my own podcast. Similar to you, I was kind of like, what do I have to say? And then I realized you can say anything on a podcast. It doesn't really matter. But it's growing that podcast. That's a different mindset.
Yeah.
But it is when you're listening and you become friends with these podcasts.
Exactly.
It's a one-sided friendship. Like, you're friends with them. You know everything about them. They have no idea who you are. And then on the flip side, as a podcaster, I feel like no one listens to my show. I know I get downloads. I see my stats, but because I don't always get that interaction.
Maybe that's the thing that we have to think also, how to make communication between the podcaster and his fans. That would be something interesting.
It has to be this easier way. I know Anchor has this leave a voicemail, and you can leave a voicemail, but that's still an extra step for an audience member to take when they're listening, because they have to click on that link, go over. If they don't have the Anchor app, they have to download
I've heard
it.
about a startup that is doing like a chat or something, which is open chat while your people. Actually, it was for the fans to chat between each other, but still, it's something interesting to have to dig into more.
Yes, no, it's and because so much money is now being poured into podcasting, because there is the view of the business world seeing that there's money can be made here. It's obviously with the Joe Rogan and some of the Call Me Daddy podcast getting these multi-million-dollar deals. Yeah. So businesses are coming in and filling the gaps that podcasts are missing, and we're getting this explosion of growth, and it's
and also it's a nice medium, especially for the last few years when everybody is home, locked, and kind of in emotional feeling, you can say. Podcast is exactly the medium to be emotional, you can say. It's nice.
Yeah, because you get you have that warm, I have an episode coming out, Phil's dropping an episode, I can listen to that. It feels comforting, and it's all that. You get your humor, you can get your knowledge, you can get storytelling, you get so many different styles of podcasts coming out, and it's amazing, and it's so much fun. You mentioned you're worried about doing your own podcast with 15 years of experience that you have. I have no doubt that you would have a top 10 podcast within days with your knowledge.
I'm not sure myself. I mean, probably I don't have the confidence of publicity enough. I'm more entrepreneur and building websites, but that's why I'm doing those podcast participations, so I can learn guests, so I can learn more, and maybe one day I can start that kind of venture, because that's really interesting.
Well, if you have any questions, that's my job. That's my domain. I help podcasters. I automate. I host 6 podcasts, and I produce 18 other podcasts. And so I've automated as much as possible. So, and I'm a one-man team. I'm all by myself, and hopefully in the next couple of years I can hire some more people. But it's a one-man team. So you learn all the tricks and trades to do it, and it's called batching. Batching episodes is the key to being a weekly or a daily episode podcast. You record it way in advance. Like for me, I only have 2 days a week I record, but those days I can have 5 to 10 episodes being recorded.
All right.
So I'm interview, and then I just edit and put them up, and they're scheduled to go later on. So it rolls right through. So it's the secret. That's a secret not a lot of people know, because podcasters don't talk about it often. I'm very open about it on this show and in my other shows, because it's important. If you don't batch, you get stuck. It's same with content creation. Same thing. Writing a blog every day, it's just, you may not be inspired, but if you can write multiple blogs in one day and schedule them out, you're free to go. You get free up that time.
That's how it works in SEO and optimization with the blogs. Absolutely.
We are coming up to the end. I do want to touch on your favorite book, because it is one that has been touched on by other entrepreneurs, and I'm feeling that it is the Bible of digital entrepreneurship. Because
actually, those are books that I read a lot, but I believe my greatest author is Seth Godin, because he's really writing about the whole entrepreneurship, for the big picture of the things. So I really like his books, and I really enjoy them. The 4 hours also.
We have the 4-hour work week. It's kind of the Bible. It's what most digital entrepreneurs read, and then they're like, this is possible, and then they go into it, and it's like this. It's the gateway book, if you will.
I'm still trying it, learning it,
trying to get to the 4-hour work week.
It
doesn't happen. As much as you want it to. There's just too much in life, and it's so much fun.
It's actually fun. Exactly. So that's another part why we are doing it.
We are able to take a step off and go, I'm good for a week or two, take that mini vacation, but you just get that Jones that you want to work some more because
Exactly.
you're so
You
passionate.
figure out some idea in the night and you're okay, I'll do it in the morning. And
the amount of time I have a notebook by my bed so that if I wake up, it's just turn on the light, write it down, put it back, and then go back to bed because I won't remember it.
That's very nice. That's very cool.
So I'm going to jump off stage here for a second. I'm going to give you the full screen. I'm going to ask you just to let my audience know where they can find you, how they can support you, and anything like that you want to share with my audience. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hey, nice to meet you, everyone. So you can find me. You can always find me in LinkedIn, Nedko Nedkov, and you can see the website is written down, Podvertizer.com. So you can contact us also there. Also, you can always email me at nedkov@podvertizer.com. And it will be really great to help you into monetizing your podcast, transcriptions, and for anything related to marketing and entrepreneurship. Thank you very much for your time.
It was a pleasure having you on, Nedkov.
It was a pleasure, Phil.
To my audience, the links to connect with Nedkov will be all in the show notes down below. I would highly suggest checking out his website, Podvertizer.com, if you're looking for advertisers and an easier way to find them. It's a robust, amazing website, and I'm thoroughly enjoyed checking out everybody that he has already on it and the podcast he's helped already. So make sure you check out that. Make sure you take your time and remember to invest in yourself. And again, Nedkov, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.